Hey folks, today's video is how to make interesting shops and shopkeepers.
Your players are going to be shopping throughout the entire campaign. If you're like me, I actually really like shopping sessions. I think it's a lot of fun and it's a great time for like character development and meeting new folks and all that kind of stuff. So if they're spending time in lots of different shops, I think it's really worth thinking about how can you create interesting shops and interesting shopkeepers, and maybe even create one of those people and places that your players really want to keep coming back to, and they become a major NPC throughout your story.
Yeah, and also by using some of these tips, you're going to make some memorable shops.
Yeah.
So your players aren't just going, where's the general store? They'll be like, I want to go to Whiz-Band's.
Oh, that was you were going so strong
I
with
was
that.
going so strong.
So Whiz-Bands, when you make a Whiz-Bands, make sure that you like add us or something like that so that we know what your Whiz-Band was. All right, so to start off, I'm going to be talking about making the Shopkeeper, and I want to say how did they get started? That's a really good place for you to start thinking about this NPC.
Yeah.
Why did they get started? Are they a little bit older and they used to be an adventurer, and maybe they just opened their shop with a bunch of their loot that they didn't need anymore, and they had a little bit of money, and that's how they got started and all that kind of stuff? Do they come from a merchant family? Maybe they're a little more wealthy, or not that wealthy, and this is just what they've sort of always done. Maybe they went to the academy and were trained as an enchanter, but they weren't interested in adventuring whatsoever, and so they just opened a shop enchanting other people's goods. It gives them a nice backstory, and it gives them a reason to be doing this other than your players needed to buy some potions.
It's true. And I think one of the first things you got to consider with the shop is, what does it sell?
Yeah.
And I think it's helpful to have a few maybe specific items figured out, but also just to know in general, what does this shop sell? Is it a general store that's really catering towards just basic adventuring supplies? Is it a potion shop? Is it a clothing shop? Because if your players go in and they know, I'm looking for a ruby necklace, well, they probably aren't going to find it in a general store. But if they go to a specialty jewelry store or maybe a like antiques shop, they might be able to find that.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you want it to be a place that your players keep visiting, then maybe that idea of, well, they have some specialties, but they also get a few things here and there.
Yeah, you can also kind of leave it up to a little flexibility. If your players ask for a specific thing, maybe not, and it's a little bit of a stretch, maybe the shopkeeper can say, hey, give me a day or two and I can see if I can acquire this for you, perhaps for a little bit of an extra fee.
Yeah, or a favor, and now you've got yourself a story hook.
Yeah.
The next thing to consider about the shopkeeper is, why are they in this city? Is it the city that they're from? You know, like we were saying, maybe a merchant family, and this is just where their shop has always been. If you know that they're from this city and you know that they're a merchant family and they've been doing this for a long time, well, then maybe they're also involved in some politics or the Thieves Guild or all kinds of stuff. These tips are to help flesh out your character as well, your NPC, and it can open up a lot more things other than just what it is that your character can buy. So yeah, are they from this city? Are they in the city because it is the capital city and it's the easiest place to be able to trade and sell to lots of different folks? Or maybe it's something where they got injured and they came here to get help and they fell in love with the city. Who knows? Maybe they're a shopkeeper in the city of Dis and they were banished here somehow 400 years ago and they just never aged and never thought about going home because they liked the change of scenery, right? Why did they end up here?
And similarly, not only why are they there, but where in the city is the shop? Because that's going to inform a lot of decisions. You know, if it's in a higher class neighborhood in the city, if it's in a lower class, that might affect not only what they have, how much things cost, but also kind of the atmosphere. Is it right next to a trade route, or is it tucked away down a back alley? That's all going to kind of help make it feel more real to the players if they know where it is and have a little bit of that description.
If you're enjoying the video so far, make sure that you're subscribed and that you're following us so you know when we get those bonus videos and things like that. We put stuff out every Tuesday, but go ahead and hit subscribe for us. The next thing for your shopkeeper that I will suggest is know a little bit about their basic family. You don't have to go all out creating a backstory. I mean, if you want to do that for every shopkeeper, go for it. Sounds exhausting, but that's fine. But I think like their basic family. Well, we've already done this with, well, if they're a merchant family, right? And if they've grown up here a long time. But are their parents still alive? Do they have siblings? Do they have a significant other, wealthy family or a not wealthy family, from this place or not this place? You're answering some questions a second time, maybe, from the other 2 points that I had. But, you know, this helps make them a little bit more real. I mean, players will talk to your NPCs.
Yeah.
When you make them interesting, and especially if you give them a voice, right? Like, a lot of the times, your players will want to talk to your NPCs, and knowing a little tiny bit about their history, not having to go all out, that kind of keeps you from getting stuck in that, like, old 8-bit NES thing where you only have 2 dialogue options and you're just like, these are our specials, and no, we don't carry that, right? Actually be able to carry on a conversation with the shopkeep and your players.
Another question to ask that is going to help with some of this is, who are the regular clientele? Do they regularly cater towards adventurers? So maybe they're much more accustomed to the weird personalities that adventure parties are made up. Do they tend to cater to just the townsfolk? So maybe having an adventuring party in their shop is a little different. They maybe don't know how to deal with you. Maybe there are some of the individuals that they've never seen somebody from this ancestry before, so they're a little taken aback. And that's also, you know, the shop is going to exist even without your adventuring party. So if you know kind of who their regular clientele is, that can help inform some of these other decisions and flesh it out a lot more.
Yeah. And the last piece of advice for creating your shopkeeper is probably a really great piece of advice if you are a shopkeeper, which is, where do you see yourself in 10 years? No, that's not silly, but like, yeah, where do they want to be in 10 years? Do they want to have a second location? Do they want to have retired? Do they want to sell the place? Do they really wish that they had never given up adventuring and they want to get back into it? You know, if you can answer those questions, again, this might open up some opportunities for an adventure hook or a side quest. If they are so close to retirement and they've heard rumors of a dwarven battle plate that they can send your party off on, and they'll give them a really good cut of the proceeds and it'll go towards their nest egg. Look, there you go. That could be 2 or 3 sessions right there recovering this thing. Where do they see themselves in the future? And like, if they're a person, they're working towards getting there. That's going to let you have, like, character progression for your NPC if they do keep coming back and stuff like that. And all of the tips that I've gotten for mine, you could write down 3 or 4 possibilities on different index cards, and, like, you could randomly roll these as well. It's not like something that you have to spend hours and hours figuring out.
Yeah. And with the kind of the NPC character progression, that ties into my last tip is jot down a few notes on the physical description, and potentially if they come back, does the physical description change?
Yeah.
And with this, I like to try and have not only just what does the shop look like, but kind of try and jot down a few notes for all of the senses. So what does it sound like in there? Is there a lot of noise coming from the back room? Well, that's an interesting
Or the
thing.
basement.
Or the basement. What does it smell like in there? You know, if it's a potion shop, it's probably going to have some interesting smells. Or maybe it doesn't, and that's interesting.
Yeah.
As well as just, like, what does it feel like? Not only just what does it look like, but if you walk in and, oh, it's a really, you know, minimal shop, but as soon as you touch something, you realize everything's covered in a layer of dust. That's interesting.
It's kind of creepy.
Yeah, creepy. Yeah. Or if you walk in and it's super cluttered, but everything is absolutely clean and immaculate. Like, those create those memorable descriptions that your characters are going to, or your players are going to kind of have an easier time remembering the shops.
Absolutely. So a few tips there for you for making your shops and your shopkeepers something that's fun for you as a GM to create, and also fun for your players to interact with. What are some of the ways that you like to create your more memorable shopkeep type NPCs and things like that? We would love to hear some of your tricks and your suggestions down in the comments below.
We want to give a special thanks to all of our patrons, especially Arvi. If you want to help support our channel, you can head on over to our Patreon page and check out some of the cool perks of being a patron. Thanks so much for watching. Remember, hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed this video. I hope you hit the like, and we'll see you next time on Roll for Initiative.
Bye.
I could hold the dagger.
But not like in a threatening way. I think and the box.